Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Coach Landon. Today's episode of Beyond Tomorrow Recruiting will feature Jonneshia Pineda, one of the women's basketball assistant coaches over at the University of Louisville. Really cool story on how she got there from Division II playing to grad assistant coaching and on all the way progressing up to being on that D1 level. We're going to talk about some really cool things as far as understanding where you're going and a bunch of other really cool little bits of information for you guys. So let's run through this intro and then we'll jump in these questions. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Coach Landon, again, back with another first. I know we just keep running these first, but we got our first Division I women's college basketball coach. I'm super excited. As a fan of basketball around the world, any gender, women's basketball, men's basketball, high school basketball, international basketball, I'm super excited for my next guest, Division I college basketball coach. Coach, I'm gonna go ahead and let you jump in there, give a quick introduction, and then we'll get to some of these questions.
Awesome. Well, first off, thanks so much for having me. Always, love doing things like this where I can spread my knowledge, give my flavor a little bit. Introducing myself, Jonneshia Pineda, Associate Assistant Coach at the University of Louisville, going on my 5th season. Yes, L's up, baby. I usually go by Coach J or Coach JP. I leave it pretty much open. Yeah, so that's me in a nutshell. As I mentioned already, going on my 5th season at Louisville. So it's been great. Just capped off the season last year, finished in the ACC championship as runner ups, and then the Elite Eight. So it was a great year last year.
Definitely. Historically, I'm a University of Kentucky fan, but I'm a big fan of the things you post on Twitter. You're always like super optimistic, super positive. Your vibe's always dope. Your energy's always cool. I love the things you post. So you're definitely converting me over to the red side.
And it was up.
There you go. There you go. We're going to jump in. First, I like to let the coaches just give the viewers, the listeners, parents, and players a little bit of information on how you got to your position. I know there's a lot of variations in different ways that people get to that college level. And I'd love you to share your story a little bit.
Yeah, awesome. So my story is very really interesting. I love to talk about it because I feel like coming into this business, as you mentioned, everybody has a different path and everybody goes through different things. So to start, I played Division II basketball. Um, I was a transfer kid. I went to Queens University, transferred, went to junior college, graduated from there, and then finished my last year at Georgia Southwestern. With that being said, I've always had aspirations to be a collegiate coach. Just being at one to give back to the game. So my journey kind of started a senior in college. I started the So You Want to Be a Coach. There was a convention at the WBCA, and it was called So You Want to Be a Coach, and I did. And I remember one of my coaches during JUCO told me about that program, so I applied for it. I got picked. My school ended up sponsoring me to go out. I was able to network, learn. My eyes got so big just on the networking in this business for women's basketball, and that was 2011. After that, one of my mentors told me always invest in yourself. Do the work, 80-20, invest. And obviously, you give thanks to the man above. But so what I did every year prior to that, I consistently um, traveled to the Final Four, went to those conventions, and just built my network, built my base, just built, relationships with people that never knew me, right? And how did I do that? Going up, introducing myself, letting them know what I would do. I remember LaChina Robinson was our NC host. And if we all know LaChina Robinson, is phenomenal right now. Everything she does, in the broadcasting field, ESPN, and all the above. I said, LaChina, I really want to get in this business. I will be a GA and mop the floors at Central Michigan. UCF. I wanted that GA job. Unfortunately, she tweeted that out. Twitter wasn't that popular back then. Didn't get the job. So I started back, moved back to Atlanta. I continued to do that for the next 3 years, working at Best Buy, working at a Rec, working at Dick's Sporting Goods, just trying to get myself in the business. Um, I got an opportunity from a friend that got a job at Georgia Tech, Deja Foster. She was a former player. She knew I wanted to get in the business. She told Michelle about me. They needed some interns, some volunteers. I was in the area, so I volunteered. I quit my job at Best Buy and I started volunteering there for free, learning video, learning scouting, learning everything. Year two, I was like, all right, I'm done. Like, I'm ready to move up. I want to get on the court. How can I do that as an intern? Unfortunately, I couldn't. So therefore, I continued to do the video stuff until I said I'm done. Started coaching AAU basketball, one of the best programs in the country, FBC, and we had really good kids. Our kids were really, really good, and I just had a natural ability of relationship building, talking, meeting people, networking. Coaches seen that when they would come to our games on the sideline. And at this time, I'm just looking for a GA job. Maybe a month or two after that, Michelle Joseph called me, left me a voicemail, and told me to interview for a GA spot. Unfortunately, I did, and I didn't get it. Right? She gave it to a former player. So another year in AAU. At this point, just locked in to do what I'm doing. Started personal training, still working at the rec, training, trying to just do whatever I can. She called me the next year, offered me the GA job. Got a GA job at Georgia Tech. I at that point I had already knew what new GAs didn't know, right? New GAs coming to, you don't know sports code, you don't know how to break down film, you don't know what things to look for. I knew everything already. So I was ahead of the game. Did that for a year. My second year, another blessing from God. Um, One of our GAs um, basically stepped down, went to go play back overseas. So then I took over a role. I was two GAs in one, handling everything, managing people, organizing everything. That same year, assistant coach stepped down. I got promoted to assistant, right? Throughout the year, I learned how to recruit because I sat in those meetings. I wanted to be in those meetings. And shout out to Michelle because she allowed me to do that. Some coaches don't. She allowed me to sit in those meetings where I learned things from her assistants. So I got promoted to interim assistant, and I knew that I had to hit the ground running recruiting. I had to make a splash. Help Georgia Tech sign a top 10 recruiting class that year. April, I was taking Michelle to an appointment. We're getting ready to go out to Boo Williams. She told me that she was going to offer me the job at Georgia Tech, and that was kind of history. So started from an intern, volunteer, then worked my way up to a GA, and then an interim assistant to a final assistant. I spent 6 years at Georgia Tech in total, and 3 years as an assistant coach. And then I got an opportunity here at Louisville. So my story has been, if I could share one thing from that story, is my phrase. And you're gonna hear me say this all day. Work is work, right? No job is too big or too small for you, no matter what position that you're in.
True. True. Facts. Amen. You touched on the recruiting side. I love that. Um, at that level, assistant coaches, GAs kind of have a little bit of insight into seeing players as you
Mm-hmm.
get interested, show them to the coaches, and it kind of becomes that progression throughout the recruiting process. 2023 or 22-23, you guys were 26 and 12, 21-22, 29 and 5, 2021, 26 and 4. So to say that you guys are putting a quality product on the court is a drastic understatement. Like, Louisville's got a very, very good recruiting process, a really good way to evaluate talent. So I kind of want to jump into a little bit of that in the recruiting process. We'll go back to the Tech days. We can talk about recently
Okay.
over Louisville. We'll talk about highlight film, full game film, watching players in person. Kind of touch on those three aspects of recruiting and give your personal opinion on the three.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's start with you mentioned the recruiting here at Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
We'll start there. So here's the thing. When I got to Louisville 5 years ago, I'm going on my fifth season now. Louisville had a tradition. They had a standard, right? You come here, you play the best schedule, you play with the best players, right? And those players are able to perform and be successful. One thing about Louisville that I love so much, and Coach Walls just allows us to do, we don't have to recruit just one through top 25 kids. And in some programs, especially Power Fives, that's all they're recruiting.
Mhm.
You, for us, it's all about fit, right? We understand that in order for us to be good, you have to love it and you have to love the work. Jeff and the staff prior to me were able to produce pros because of the tradition of hard work. Coach Walls built this program. He's the most winningest coach in the history of Louisville because of the hard work, right? He's a great coach, but it's the type of kids that he aligns himself with and he has in his program. Great kids, good families, hard workers, right? Not afraid to get your heels in and dig in and work. And then you get a couple of those kids, and then you get an Asia there, right? People don't understand. Dana Evans, she made herself who she was. Dana Evans' freshman year, we weren't guarding Dana past the 3-point line. The next 2 years, she was sixth player of the year and ACC player of the year 2 years in a row. No one's ever done that because of the standard at Louisville, because she knew once Asia left, it was going to be her time to shine, right? And Jeff and the staff, and including myself now, we do a great job of, you know, mentioning that when it comes to recruiting, right? We don't BS you. We're not going to lie to you. If we feel like you can be a really good role player and you're going to win a lot here, we're going to tell you that.
Yeah.
Because guess what? Those players are needed at the next level. No one wants to do that work anymore. So when it comes to recruiting here at Louisville, that's how we are very transparent. We are straightforward. You ain't it's not it's gonna be this is how it is and this what it is. And some people don't like that. And we may miss out on a couple kids, but that's okay. That's okay.
Definitely. If you get a chance to watch something like a highlight video, so say,
Hmm.
hey, go check out this player, you go watch her film, and you come across a highlight video versus like, hey, we're going to sit down and watch this whole game. um, Things that stand out to you and kind of red flags at your level. Obviously, you guys
Right.
are P5, you're playing the best players in the country, future pros, night in, night out. You got pros going against pros, you got an expectation. So you're watching a highlight video of a player as she's up and down the court, coming in and out the game. Kind of touch on some of the things you look at for the course of a recruiting video, whether it's a highlight video. We're looking at motors or full games. Are we looking at attitude after a bad play? Are we looking at talking? Are we looking at energy? Like, kind of get some input from your side of what you're looking at.
Another really good question. So interesting dynamic, right? Because if you use recruiting couple maybe 10 years ago, that's the only way you could recruit, right? From film. Now social media is very, real, right? It's how people really get recruited. So here's what I do. Um highlight films. When I see a highlight film, like if there's a kid I haven't seen and I see a lot of people offering, or I see something and I'm like, okay, let me check this kid out. The first thing I'm looking at is the competition she's playing, right? Who is she competing against? Do I know that team? You know, can can I guard them? Can they guard me?
Mhm.
Because I'm older, and if I could blow by you, I'm not that impressed. But you know, I just think that the skill level, different things, like if you send me a highlight tape and versus a game where you win by 20 or 30, but your skill set is when you beat somebody off the bounce on the left side, you're using your right hand. Like I look at things like that, right? If you're making a pass to the left side, are you pushing it with your left hand? Or are you throwing it across your body because your skill set is not there yet, right? Same thing. If you catch it off the bounce, let me see your footwork. Is it 1-2? Are you hopping into it? Are you showing me highlights? Are you coming off staggers? Usually, when I evaluate a highlight film, you know, I can kind of tell this kid is skilled. And if she's skilled, okay, I need to see you again,
Mhm.
right? If you are not that skilled, but you play hard, you rebound, right? Those are things I look at. Well, then I need to see you again. I think the biggest knock off for us college coaches when we get these highlight films is when you don't see the possession. You see a
Mhm.
rebound, but you don't see the outlet pass, right? You see the rebound, but you don't see her dribble up the floor. The
Mhm.
next possession you may see is them catching it on the block or catching it, like, right? So when things are cut out like that, that's where I'm like, okay, interesting. Or as I mentioned, if the talent level is not great, then it's probably I need to see it in person. Since I've been at Louisville, I could say there's been 2 times where I've watched full games, right? Because of COVID. And then you have to recruit these kids virtually, where I was like, okay, this kid can play. And I'm telling you, motor and skill set, they don't lie in film,
Right.
right? I might not see you talking. I might not see you, cheering and clapping and touching. I might not see your reaction to a call or anything, but the way, how hard you play and your skill level, that's not going to change in film. If you can't make a left hand layup, I'm going to see that in film because in a game, like I'm going to see you beat somebody, go to the left and shoot it with your right hand.
Mhm.
That that's a question mark for me. So those are things that, we kind of look at as a staff. And sometimes I may not see it, but another staff member may
Yeah.
see it. So we kind of pass it around a little bit. Hmm.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Skill set and motor don't lie on film. I like that.
No, no.
I like
We
that.
tell our own we
That's
tell
the
our own
truth.
players that,
That's
especially
the
about that
truth.
motor part.
So we're gonna switch gears just a little bit where you can give the parents and players listening just a little bit more insight. A big part of my channel is I want to educate players and parents on things that they probably aren't very comfortable with, very knowledgeable on. We're going to talk about 5 things. So either Division 1 rules, scholarship rules, um, recruiting visit rules. What are 5 things that you think most common basketball parents don't know that they need to know if they have a D1 caliber player in their house?
Awesome. This is great. I was pondering on this one right here. So this is kind of a rule, but not a rule. One, learn the difference between an offer and an interest, right? I think at our level, I'm telling you, I'm on the phone with 2028s, 27s, 26s, all of them, right? I'm very interested in getting to know the person, right? I think a lot of parents, especially when they're talking to high level universities, or not even the parents, the student athletes, they don't understand if I have interest in you or if I'm offering you something. I like to tell all our recruits when I talk to them, hey, the day you get an offer from us, we want you to say yes. That
Mhm.
means we want you to say yes right now. Doesn't mean we want you to hold it. Now, do they ever say yes that first time? No, probably not. But just so you know, that's how valuable that is to us. So you're not just passing that out. So some parents and even players may get offended, right? When you're talking to a coach and I think they offer me, they might have interest. Well, if they don't have interest, but they didn't say these things. So that's number one. No, and I'll back up a second because as a recruiter, I'm making sure you know whether it's interest or offers,
Mhm.
right? If you have any confusion, parents, players, ask, right?
Right.
Talk to the head coach, ask for feedback. So that's one. Secondly, at this level, it's a rule, but not know what you can do academically, right? I think a lot of kids get recruited by a lot of Power 5 schools and they want to be engineers or they want to be lawyers and doctors. However, they're not able to be
Mhm.
because basketball at that program is so rigorous, right? Coaches tell you kind of what their rule is on what you should major in. No, that's not realistic. So that's something to be very, very, certain of and have an eye for and an ear for when you're talking, especially academics. Um, I consider that would be a rule. Thirdly, excuse me, transfer portal. Know those rules. And this is gonna tie into my fourth rule, but something to be aware of. Know the roster spots, right?
Right.
know the roster spots. One, and it's gonna tie into transfer portal. One, if I'm a two guard and they have four of them, doesn't make sense, right? I understand I gotta work hard, but it's four people in front of me that play significant minutes. That that if we understand that, then that would help us understand the transfer portal. Know when you get in that portal how many days you have to find somewhere. Know what happens if you get into it after the fact. If you get into the portal after the fact with the new rule, you got to sit out. If you don't graduate and you get into the portal late, you got to sit out. If you are graduated from your university and you get into it late, before the deadline, after the deadline, you're good. You can play right away. So that's really huge because I think a lot of parents and players nowadays, they're confused at that. Oh, I can go here and transfer. No, it's just not about that. And let me think. A fifth one I would say for players to be aware of is visits, right? Who can come on a visit? What's provided? What time to come on a visit, right? And what's permitted on these visits. As a college coach, I think sometimes we're put in situations to where players think it should be a certain way because of social media.
Yeah.
And then you get on these campuses and it's not that way. So you're either one, you feel belittled, right? They really don't value me. They really don't want me here. Two, you might feel a little offended, right? And then three, you just might be like, I really don't know what I got myself into. And I think you as a parent and player, you hear all these, oh, you can take unlimited visits, you can do this. Well, guess what, baby? The schools don't have unlimited money, okay? Especially in women's basketball. So know those rules, right? And also in that topic, if you're really invested in a program, visit those schools. And because taking 10 visits just because is gonna do something that is just gonna overwhelm you more than that. And then one more, academically, know what you need. Know what you need on your enrollment sheet. Know what courses you need. Have your eligibility correct, and that for it. And do your NCAA clearinghouse work. Get that ID, baby.
So outside of the NCAA clearinghouse stuff, I love every aspect that you just said applies at the JUCO level, at the D2
Right.
level, at the D3 level, at the NAIA level. Like those are things that people really, really need to understand, as well as understanding an unofficial visit versus an official visit.
Right.
People get on visits and they're like, oh, I'm gonna get a uniform and take some pictures in the stadium, and then if they don't line that up for you, then you feel some sort of way. You're in your feelings on campus, like, wait, well, old girl who posted 3 weeks ago, she got that. Why didn't I get that?
Right.
Or
Right.
a school invites a player out and they say, hey, if this is an unofficial visit and you get out here, then we'll double back. And after the high school season's over, we'll have you on an official. And they feel some sort of way like, well, why don't you want me on an official visit on the first one? And they get in their feelings and they start feeling some sort of way like, oh, I feel slighted. I feel like
Absolutely.
they're just trying to play me right now. So, yeah, definitely. I love that everything you said is applicable at different levels, but as well as the academic expectations, because people do get excited. Well, I'm going to college. I'm going to college. I'm going to be a lawyer and I'm a hoop. And if this hoop stuff don't work out, then I'm halfway through law school. Not if
Right.
you're playing basketball and running, practices, and then you got weights, and then you got conditioning, then you got treatment, then you got homework on top of that. You're too tired to be doing lab work and doing all that extra stuff for your nursing program when you're
Yep.
trying to be, a starter or create some space in that rotation for yourself.
And let me add to that point because it's great that you said that because I don't all universities and programs don't allow you to do that.
Right.
Right. And I hope that us saying that parents understand, okay, who is really about academics and book. Universities preach it, but they're not always if if you got a lab at 1 o'clock and that's the time you're practicing, is that coach gonna change practice for you?
Mhm.
You some will, we will. We do at Louisville. We got our own
Oh,
practice court,
okay.
right? You see what I'm saying? We have our own practice court. So if we have kids that have class at 1, that's our practice time. Well, we'll just practice. We'll move it up. We'll practice at 8. And that's Jeff Walls, right? That
Right.
may not be another coach.
Right.
Sometimes you can't. They can't. So that's where in the recruiting process, ask these questions. If you don't do anything, I think you get a lot of athletes that come on campus and come on business and have no questions. That's really insane to me
Yeah.
because I think a question like that is very, very valid, especially as you mentioned, if you want to be a lawyer, if you want to be a doctor, if you have a lab, you got to do this and you got to do that. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to clean that up a little bit because it's
Definitely.
real.
And things like that are what set the Louisville culture aside from your traditional, mid majors who may be sharing the court, the practice
Right.
court with the men and women's program versus, P5s and institutes that have administratives that support the athletic department and create facilities and give you guys the freedom to be able to move things around like that. That's a big part of that culture, right? If you guys had a head coach and had athletic director and had people involved that didn't really believe in the program or see the work that the program puts in, they probably don't build those facilities and give that and grant that access to the coach to have that flexibility. So a lot of
Absolutely.
that speaks to the program. So I like that.
Absolutely.
So right now this is what I like to call. Normally I call it the fourth quarter, but for you we're just going to call it the 4 minute warning. Okay.
Yeah.
We got that last TV timeout. We're in that last stretch of we got to make plays and win the game. So I'm going to just open it up to you. I love the fact that a lot of your stuff is coming from a P5 D1 perspective, but it's applicable across the board. So we're just going to open it up and just let you drop some knowledge on the viewers, on the parents, on the players, student athletes. Make sure they're the name says student before athlete, so we'll address them as
Absolutely.
student athletes and parents. But go ahead and sound off and give them a little bit of something to walk away with.
No, absolutely. And like I said earlier, I appreciate you having me on. My perspective is very different because I played Division 2 basketball. So I know, what it looks like on that side and what it looks like now for, our student athletes and our young women. So one thing I kind of let everybody know that I recruit, and my players right now, you don't take moments for granted, right? Things happen for a reason. Um, you know, I live on work like you have the job you want. If my motto, work is work, that's what it is, right? So whether it's you're playing D1, D2, junior, JUCO, NAIA, Power of Five, if you want to be successful, work like you have the job you want. And
Mm.
that's even in my career, and that's kind of my motto. Um, and work is work. I mean, I just hope after this, parents, student athletes, just they're able to see things a little bit more clearly and have a vision of kind of what you know we look at Louisville, and particularly myself. Um, and that's pretty much it. I don't have much to say. I think I kind of dropped my bombs of knowledge throughout this with your questions because they were amazing. So student athletes, if you're chasing a scholarship at a Power 5 level, get on those campuses, meet those people, build relationships, invest in yourself, go to elite camps. Sometimes you can't afford it, but you know how to fundraise, you know how to collect and go out there and do those things and get yourself seen. Be a good person,
Hmm.
right? Versus just a great basketball player. Be a great person. And that'll take you a long way in this business because you never know. How everything's going, you may go somewhere, play 2, 3 years, graduate, and then have an opportunity to play somewhere else just because of your work ethic and the person that you are. So, parents, don't put too much pressure on these young women and these student athletes right now to be what they see on social media. Everybody's path is different, everybody's course is different. And I'm gonna live by that until it's my time. And you know, as a head coach, that's the way I'm gonna recruit. So work is work, baby.
Work is work. I'm putting that in the
Hmm.
description and the title. I'm gonna blow that up. So
Awesome. I love it.
I love it. Well, thank you, Coach Jay. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. I love what you guys have built over there. You know, I don't really watch Kentucky's women's program, but you definitely made me a fan of your team and of your program and of everything that you guys
Appreciate
are
it.
building over there. So I'll definitely be rooting for you guys. I was trying to hang my Donovan Mitchell jersey up on the
Ha!
wall back here, and I couldn't get it to stick, and I wanted it right there, right behind me, because I got it and he signed on the floor, but I
I
couldn't get
love
it to
that.
stick up there. But I'm definitely a fan now. I'm definitely a
Awesome.
fan. I tend to root for coaches more than players and programs, and you've definitely made me a fan through your social media posts and your presence there in this interview. So I really appreciate you. Thank you for your time, Coach.
No, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I'll see you on Twitter.
All right.
Thanks, Coach.